Okay, today we're going to be filming a video on how to create graphs in Excel with multiple trend lines and graphs with error bars. So we're going to start by importing the data from the practice set, and up here I want to label what these were. So all three of these columns corresponded to a certain volume of CO2. Here's where I pulled it from. A volume of CO2 measured in milliliters. So I want to show that, and I could write that in each of these, volume of CO2 milliliters, but as soon as I start repeating myself in Excel, then it means I'm not using Excel to the max. So if I have to say that this is a volume and this is a volume, well then why don't I just say that all three of these are a volume? So I can click, I'm going to delete this, I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to highlight these three columns and click merge and center. Now I'm saying that all of these are a volume of CO2 measured in milliliters, and they were all done with an uncertainty of plus or minus 0.5. Great. I'm going to make that bold. I'm going to give it a border just so it looks fancy. Great. Now I've got these as my data, and I want to put all of these values on one graph. I could highlight it all at once. Sometimes Excel doesn't work that way, so I'm going to try doing it incrementally. So I'm going to sit here and highlight just the numbers under time and my first data set. Not all of them, just my first data set. I go up to insert. Just kidding. Try that again. This insert. And I want a scatter plot because we're in IB. So I click a scatter plot right there. Great. This looks good. I've got time on the bottom. It doesn't label time, but I can tell that these are my time values. It doesn't label degrees Celsius yet, but I can tell. Now I want to add my next data set, which was at 20 degrees Celsius. So I click on the actual data here, and then I go to Select Data. This is up in the Chart Design toolbar. So I click Select Data, and it automatically pops up with Series 1 already labeled. Series 1 was what I was using as my 10-degree data set. So I'm going to give it a name right there where it says name. And then I'm going to go right here where it says this plus, and I'm going to add another series. It defaulted to calling it Series 2. And notice that it changed Series 1 to 10 degrees. Now I'm going to change this name to 20 degrees. I'm going to click my X values right here. I want my X values to also be those time, but I have to tell it that. So this button, this little square button with red and blue, it means go to chart. So I'm going to click the go to chart button and then highlight 0 through 6. Enter. And now it should pop up with those columns, A3 through A9, perfect, and my Y values. I bet you can't guess what I'm going to highlight as my Y values. That's right, that second data set. So I highlight that second data set under the 20-degree label, hit enter, and now it's got all the details for that second series. I want to do it again for my third series, which was 30 degrees. Label it 30 degrees. X values, I'm going to tell it I want time again. And Y values, I want my 30-degree data set. And now I should be good. When I click OK, aha, it made 3 different lines. This is great. Now I want to add trend lines. So I'm going to click on my first data set, which was my 10-degree value, and click Add Chart Element, Trend Line, Linear. Now it doesn't have to be linear, it's just that these look like they form a linear relationship, so I chose linear. I'm going to do the same for my orange, trend line, linear, and the same for my gray, add trend line, linear. All right, well, it would be awfully convenient if I could add some actual equations so that I can get a relationship numerically derived from the slope. So if I double click on that trend line, I come over here, it has some different options. It'll pop open this window for me, and I'm going to click Display Equation on Chart. And sometimes it's useful to see how reliable that trend line was. So I'm going to also click Display R-squared value on chart. That gave me an R-squared. Sometimes I want the R-squared, sometimes I don't care. Right now I don't care, so I'm going to take it off. Okay, I'm going to do the same for my orange. Click Display Equation. And I'm just moving these over so that they're easy to see. I could move them anywhere I want. In fact, in a minute I'm going to modify these a little bit to make them easier to see. And then this gray, sometimes it's tricky to make sure you're clicking right on the gray trend line. See, as you can see, I'm trying to click, but right now it's asking me to format it like how it looks, like pretty, and making it look pretty. I need to tell it the details about it. So that's what this little bar does. Click Display Equation. Great. So now I've got 3 different slope values, and the thing that it bothers me about these slope values is that this one takes it out to the 1,000th place, the tens, the hundreds, the 1,000th place. But I did not collect data in the 1,000th place. I only collected it in the tenths. So I'm going to delete, and change that to a 0.5. I'm going to do the same down here. This one goes out to the 10,000th place. Delete, and this one, delete. Great. I should do the same with my y-intercepts. I don't want to communicate a level of precision that I didn't actually take. That would be lying. Great. Now we've got 3 trend lines. I could even make these, I could go to the great lengths of making these colors, the texts of these colors match the text of the color of their trend line, so that it's easier for my reader to see. All I'm doing is I'm just double clicking on each of those numbers and then clicking a color to match them. Okay, finally I should give this chart some titles. So this is the rate of production of CO2 gas at 3 temperatures. Okay, I should give I want to go back to chart design. I need to add a chart element. I want to add some axis titles. Primary horizontal. Down here was where I was measuring time in minutes. And I want to add a axis title primary vertical. I go up here, double click, changing this to, this was volume of CO2 measured in milliliters. And I don't need to put my uncertainty in that because I'm going to show my uncertainty on my graph. One other thing is I didn't show a legend yet, so I want to do that. Add chart element, add a legend. Doesn't really matter where I put it, but this way it shows what each of those colored lines corresponds to. It automatically shows me the points and a legend for the trend line, but I don't care about the trend line. Let's see if I can delete it. So I'm going to click on each trend line key and delete that because I don't need to know that it was a linear trend line. That's obvious. Great. I can also make these text bigger. I should have done that a minute ago. When I was highlighting on this, double click it again and just make it bigger so it's easier for your old man teacher or old woman evaluator or, standard person with bad eyesight to see. Shoot, that's the bell. All right, well, now we need to add some trend lines. Some error bars. So here we go. We're going to add some error bars. When I go up to here, I want to go to chart design, add chart element, you know it, error bars. Okay, click more error bars options so you can see all of them. Okay, it gives me the options. Which one do you want to add it to? Eventually I'll add it to all, but let's start with 10 degrees. Now, right now it's giving me the direction and it's saying vertical and a horizontal. It's giving, where's the horizontal? Why is it doing, it's doing an automatic horizontal. We want a vertical, we want to say both, and in this case we want the fixed value to be 0.5 because all of them were measured with 0.5. The horizontal, I do not need a horizontal error bar, so I will hit delete. Look, you can hardly even see them. They're so tiny. They hardly even show up, which is great for my work as far as that means that it was very reliable. Let's go and do that again. More error bars options. This time I'm clicking on 20 degrees. Click this one. Okay, I'm in vertical, but I want it to be a fixed value of 0.5. Done. and then I click on that horizontal line that's sticking out really far, and I just hit delete. I don't need a horizontal one. Finally, you guessed it, do it again for the gray, add chart element, error bars, more error bars options, 30 degrees, and fixed value of 0.5. Great. Delete the sideways ones, and we're done.